In the midst of this frustration season, the Lions are struggling, and there's about 50-50. Half the people think Matt Patricia should be gone after the season, of the other half wants to give him more time. And I'm actually going to put a poll up in the community, or I'm going to put it like right here. I'm not sure where it's going to be. Vote on it. If you don't see it here, it's in the community. Vote on it. Tell me which side you're on. I think it's about 50-50. I'm kind of interested to see where that sits. So even though all this is going on, and that's everything we're focusing on at this point, because that's what people like to do, it makes sense. You focus on who's at the head of it, who's controlling everything of a bad team. So right now, there is something that has opened my eyes. There's something else that I have been realizing through this season that I don't think anybody's talked enough about, but I'm going to talk about it here. Let's get it started. Tough season, people are really talking about the coaches and the GMs and stuff like that, but instead I'm going to talk about something a little bit different. I'm actually going to be talking about a player, you know who it is by the thumbnail and the title. That is Matthew Stafford. Now you're probably thinking to yourself, what do you mean by this title? Like, what are you talking about? MVP, come on, man. Well, this reminded me of a situation. I was thinking about this last night. It reminded me of a situation back in 2011. Back in 2011, if you guys can remember back then, okay, I know this is kind of hard to forget. I had to research a little bit here. Back in 2011, Peyton Manning went down with a neck injury. Indianapolis Colts were awful. They finished 2-14. But the year before, they finished 10-6. And during that 2011 season, Indianapolis Colts were terrible, and Peyton Manning didn't play one single game. There was rumor that maybe, just maybe, Peyton Manning should be the MVP, and he was in the running just because of the simple fact, the drop-off they took without him. How less exciting the NFL was. How less exciting it was for fans. How he was so exciting to watch. How he didn't miss snaps. How now that he's not here, the team has just fallen off a cliff. And I think we're seeing a little bit of that this season. And this is what this reminds me of. So let's go back a little bit to 2010. It's kind of ironic because they were under Jim Caldwell. I don't know. I kind of knew this, but then I was like, oh, wow, this is Jim Caldwell. That's kind of weird. I don't know. Just kind of weird. So it's under Jim Caldwell back in 2010, and the Indianapolis Colts finished 10-6. This is, again, with Peyton Manning. They lose to the Jets in the wild card round 17-16. We know how it is to lose in a wild card round, okay? Stafford's done that 3 times. He's been in 3 playoff games. We've lost in the wild card rounds. So in 2010, it wasn't like they won a Super Bowl. No. They just made it to the playoffs. In 2010, they make it to the playoffs. He completes 66% of his passes, 4,700 exactly passing yards, 33 touchdowns to 17 interceptions. Okay, cool. Really good season for Peyton Manning. Then in 2011, neck injury. Out the entire season, they finished 2-14. And people are thinking, wow, if he doesn't play a single game this year, he might have to be the MVP because look at what they are without him. And one thing that we know about Matthew Stafford is this. We know that he has carried this team and put them on their back for years. And people want to make jokes about it like that's why his back is hurt because he has his team on his back. But it's not a joke because it's true. It's really true that this is what happens. We haven't seen the Lions without Matthew Stafford in a very long time. Why? Because he doesn't get hurt, just like Peyton Manning. One time, he had the most consecutive starts. I'm not sure if this is still the record. 208. 208 consecutive starts at one time. Okay, so you didn't see a lot without Peyton Manning. You didn't know what it was like to be without Peyton Manning. You didn't know what it was like to be without Matthew Stafford until this season when he finally gets hurt. Yes, it's terrible, but it opens the eyes, I think, a little bit of what we are without him. So now let's look at our situation. Let's compare it. So we're comparing the beginning half with Stafford to 2010 and without Stafford to 2011, okay? So looking at the beginning half, you'll understand why. The Lions with Matthew Stafford were 3-4-1 before he was injured. 3-4-1. He was completing 64% of his passes. Whoa, that's passage? Come on now, stop. 64% of his passes, which is 2% lower than Peyton Manning. So a little bit lower there. 2,499 passing yards. Again, this is halfway through the season. So this man is on pace for 4,998 passing yards. Yes, I did that in my head. 1 yard shy of being on pace for 5,000 once again. That would be more than what Peyton Manning had. He was also, at this time, had 19 passing touchdowns to 5 interceptions, which means he was on pace for 38 touchdowns to 10 interceptions, which again would have been higher and better than Peyton Manning in 2010. Now, does everything work out? No. But what we know is what we know. We know that he was on pace to be at least basically the same numbers as Peyton Manning was putting up. And looking at his games that he did play in, they had a tie versus the Cardinals where he scored 27 points. They had a win against the Chargers where they scored 13. They had a win against the Eagles where he scored 27. Looking at their losses, they lost to the Chiefs, he scored 30. They lost to the Packers, he scored 22. And yes, I don't know about this one. We're just going to move on. They lost to the Vikings. He scored 30. A team that was giving up, at the time, 15.5 points per game. Keep that in mind. They doubled what the Vikings were giving up per game at that time. They had a win then against the Giants where he scored 31 points. And they had a loss against the Raiders where they scored 24 points. So there's not many dips, you know what I mean? It's consistently, they're putting up numbers. We know it was the defense that was letting them down. Well, now without Stafford, the script has a little bit flipped, right? You know, the script has flipped, tables have turned, everything. Because now you're not playing them very good teams, right? These teams don't score a lot. So now our defense is looking better. And if we had Matthew Stafford, you could make the case we would have won these last 3 games. You could make the case. Maybe not the Cowboys one, but the other 2 for sure. You can make the case we would have won all 3. And look at where we've been sitting if we would be 6-4-1. Yeah, this would be a different situation if Stafford was just healthy. Now, does that mean I think, things shouldn't change? No. But I'm not even going to get into that in the video. I have stuff that I have to think about a little bit. I think, there's pros and cons. I'll probably do a pros and cons list, so just keep ahead for that. But now, without Matthew Stafford, we are currently 0-3. We lost to the Bears by scoring 13 points. We gave up 20. We scored 13. Tell me Stafford wouldn't have won a game. Okay, maybe not. You lost to the Cowboys. You scored 27. Good game from Driscoll. I'll give him that. This was his best game by far. Cowboys scored 35. Again, the defense kind of let us down once again in that game. Now, you could make the case that we had enough chances on offense that we still could have won that with Stafford. And our other loss, this last game yesterday to the Redskins, 16-19. The Redskins, the 1-9 Redskins. There was 1-9 Redskins. Now they're 2-9 because we made them happy. We made their day. We made their week. The Redskins are now 2-9. We scored 16 against them. So this is something that I think, for the Stafford haters, people that want Stafford out of here, this is eye-opening to me. And when I say MVP, I mean it. This guy was putting up MVP numbers. People were saying this is the dark horse to an MVP. You guys know it. You can see it. It's on NBC. Go look up the video. The reason that he wasn't in the MVP conversation, at least the people believing, was because they weren't successful enough. They weren't successful enough. But imagine if he plays and we win these next 3, we would have won our last 3. We're 6-4-1. That's not successful enough. Could you imagine the numbers he could have been putting up against the Redskins defense? This could be a completely different station. Yes, is that guessing? Sure. But what we did see is that if we just won a couple more games, our defense would have held up a couple more times. This would be a completely different situation this season. And not only that, but this reminds me so much of the Peyton Manning season because we don't know what it's like to be without Matthew Stafford. We know what it is like to have him. So when we see the bad games, we can throw it on him. Sure, does he play the best every week? No, but he makes it exciting. You believe he can come back every single time he gets the ball again? Don't tell me you don't. This guy is down by 1 score and he has the ball. Don't tell me you don't believe this guy can go tie this game or win this game because he's done it multiple times. People say, oh, well, yeah, he's always playing from behind. Is he really playing from behind? Is that something that he chooses to do? No. Was he playing from behind this year? No. He's not trying to play from behind. Come on, man. That's a bad case. That doesn't even make sense. That's dumb. I can't. I want to say he's a stat patter. He's a stat patter. Okay, that's a good one. You see what he is? Okay, he's a stat patter, right? Would you rather have our stat patter quarterback or what we have right now as an 0-3 in our last 3 games with a loss to the Redskins, with a loss to the Bears, and a loss to the Cowboys, which I'll give him? Come on, man. What would you rather have? Tell me what you would rather have. So it's not that he's a stat patter. It's not any of those things. It's a simple fact that now that we get to see what the Lions are without Stafford, and we will continue to see it, this team could potentially lose out. Keep this in mind. What if the Lions lose every single game for the rest of the year? If we lose out, we are currently 3-7-1. If we lose out, where we have 11 more games, if we lose our next 5 games, and we finish the season 3-12-1, and we look back and say, you know what? We lost 7 games, all 7 games without Stafford. We were 3-4-1 with him, and we could have won a lot of these games with him. I mean, I don't know what that says to the Stafford non-believers, but come on, man, this is easy for me. This is so eye-opening, and I hate that we're not good. I hate that he's not out there, and I hate that he's hurt. I want him to get healthy, so Matthew Stafford just get healthy at all costs. But, man, this is eye-opening. We need this guy. He is the real MVP. He is the real MVP, and he won't get the consideration because the Lions aren't good enough. But the numbers that he was putting up, he was above everybody. He was up there, top 5 in every single passing category. Yeah, I can show you posts. It's the truth. At that time, he was top 5 in every passing category. He was doing it week in and week out. We were talking about what's wrong with the defense. Now we're like, what the heck is our offense doing? We couldn't finish that game off? Come on, man. Look, it's right there. Same thing with Peyton Manning. It wasn't like Peyton Manning the year before won the Super Bowl. No, in 2010, he made the wild card game. And then he misses the whole year. They go 2-14. That's an 8-game difference. Matthew Stafford, if we lose out, we will have lost 7 games in a row without him. Now, will we lose out? I don't know. I wouldn't say it's very unlikely. Bears? You think we're going to beat the Bears? I don't know about that this Thanksgiving. Now, this is assuming Stafford doesn't come back. Bears? I don't think so. Broncos? I don't know about that one. We're not beating the Vikings. We're not going to beat the Packers. So there you go. We'll see what happens. But I think this is just more for the fact that this is what Stafford is. This is what he does for this team year in or year out. And now that he's not out there, we get to really experience what it's like to be without Stafford. It's not as fun to watch the games. It's really not. The offense is bland without it. Even when they score, it's like, oh, that's cool. But it's way more fun, I'm going to be honest, to watch the games with Stafford. Even if it doesn't count, I'm like, yeah, let's go. Let's see Stafford. But now it's like, what are we watching? Why am I watching this? So there you go. I just wanted to point that out. Stafford, in my eyes, is the real MVP, and this is why. Let me hear your thoughts, comments below. Thank you for watching, and I'm out.